Everybody, my name is Mark and you're watching Welcome to Mark's Bible Study. Excuse me for that. We're gonna talk about today. We are now in the book of Revelation. We are starting the series of the book of Revelation, and we're gonna talk about today the vision of the Son of Man. So today is about vision of the Son of Man. I don't know the exact title that we're gonna talk about. So we're gonna talk about what is really in the Bible, because that's gonna be very interesting to uh, talk about. And we are going to talk about vision of the Son of Man today. Today we're gonna talk about, and it's called and it says like this. And verse 9 through 20. I, John, am your brother and your partner in suffering in God's kingdom and in the patient endurance to which Jesus calls us. I was exiled to the island of Patmos for preaching the word of God and for my testimony about Jesus. It was the Lord's day, and I was worshiping in the Spirit. Suddenly I heard behind me a loud voice like a trumpet blast. I said, "Write in the book everything you see, and send it to the 7 churches in the cities of Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea." When I turned to see who was speaking to me, I saw 7 gold lampstands with someone like the Son of Man. He was wearing a long robe with a gold sash across his chest. His head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like flames of fire. His like polished bronze refined in the furnace, and his voice thundered like mighty ocean waves. He held 7 stars in his right hand, and a sharp two-edged sword came from his mouth. And his face was like the sun in all its brilliance. When I saw him, I fell on his feet as I were dead. But he laid his right now on me and said, "Don't be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I died by look. I am alive forever and ever, and I hold the keys of death and the grave. Write down what you have seen, both those things that are now happening and the things that will happen. This is the meaning of the mystery of the 7 stars you saw in my right hand, and the 7 gold lampstands. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 lampstands are the 7 churches. So, vision of the Son of Man. So, John was writing about what he saw. Excuse me. What he saw. He was describing this. He was describing he was describing his vision. And um and what was written, that guy who is sorry, this guy who was in his vision told him to write all those letters to those 7 churches. He was holding a sword and 7 stars. Yeah. He had beard white as wool. He had white hair. And he had this white robe with the golden thing in his chest. So how would you describe that kind of a how can you describe that kind of person who wears that kind of thing, who has flames as fire? Who would you describe that kind of person? The Son of Man. The Son of Man who lives in heaven. And he was the Son of Man who lives in heaven, who is waiting for you to enter to his kingdom. So the thing is that it was written like this, and when I saw him, I fell in his feet as if I were dead, but he laid his right hand on me and said, "Don't be afraid. I'm the first and the last. I'm in the beginning and the finish." So that's exactly that Jesus says in the book of Revelation in chapter 21, that he is the Alpha and the Omega, that he is the beginning and the finish. But in the Bible, but he says like this, "Don't be afraid, I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I died, but look, I'm alive forever and ever. And I hold the keys of death and the grave." Isn't that really interesting to know that? Write down what you have seen, both things that that are now happening and the things that will happen. That were happening, and those things that happened. Because those things that will happen, John had to describe all those detail, all those things that will happen before Jesus returns. See what happens here? So this is a scene. This is the vision of the Son of Man, that John had a vision, just like Ezekiel and Daniel. Just like Ezekiel and Daniel, those are the two prophets, that they had a vision from God. The vision from God from Ezekiel were those 4 living beings, and I don't know what was the vision of Daniel, but the vision of John in the book of Revelation was this guy, was the Son of Man, who was looking like that, had the beard and the hair as white as wool, eyes flaming like fire, and and 7 stars and the sword in his hand. This is how John described his vision. John is describing his vision in the book of Revelation chapter 1, verse 9. He is describing that vision. He is describing that vision. So, unfortunately, that he says, write down that you have seen, which is that vision, and describe and write down what is going to happen. This is what John saw in his vision. This is what he saw in his vision. Write down what you have seen. Both are things that you are. Excuse me for that. Are now happening and the things that will happen. This is what he saw in his vision. So this is the meaning of the mystery of the 7 stars that you saw in my right hand and the 7 gold lampstands. The 7 stars are the angels. So he is holding angels? Who knows? He's the one who excuse me. That was the last time. Whew. So what I'm saying is that he is holding that sword and holding those stars, those 7 stars that represent angels. That he is holding angels? He is holding those 7 stars, and those 7 stars represent angels. That's the whole thing about this. So, the vision of the Son of Man, that John is describing what he saw, because he is in heaven right now. So the thing is that John was writing, John was writing his description. Excuse me. John was writing his description of this vision. So he because the Lord tells him to do it. If the Lord tells you to do something, just like your parent, just like your teacher, you need to do that. This is a whole thing. That is the whole thing about listening to your own elders. That in the book of Revelation says that it says that he was this guy was seeing that John was seeing this man in heaven wearing that kind of outfit. So, and he had this long beard and long hair, and keeping the sword and keeping those 7 stars which represent angels. He was describing his vision, and he was describing all those events before Jesus will return and Satan will be defeated. That's the whole thing about this. That's the whole thing about this vision. About this vision. So thank you so much for listening with me to my Bible study for today. Please subscribe to my channel. Excuse me, hit that notification bell. Oh, happy early Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is coming very soon. Like already next week. So be prepared. So be prepared for your family and friends to gather together and have a good meal. Thank you so much. and I'll see you on Monday. See you later.